is there. But also in celebrating our 80th anniversary, holding dinners. When we live here, our job is not this, to come and look nice and wear suits. It's on the ground. The social challenges we're speaking about, young people are disengaged, they're engaged in crime, young people are unemployed, they want jobs. As we speak here, all of us who are sitting in Blair, Ethel. Young people in Mbalula are unemployed. Young people in Sebokeng are unemployed. Young people in Soweto are calling for the help of the ANC. They are unemployed. Young people in Katlehong, young people in Beggarsdal, they are seeking the Youth League to come up with solutions to then be able to change their lives. So the conference that you are assisting us to go to is for us to make these progressive resolutions. So I'm saying all this, that it is important that leaders of the ANC have that relationship with young people. Invest in them, make sure that they've got space to then be able for their voices to be heard, so that the ANC can become a permanent imagination. We've seen that it is difficult for parties to be bold enough to join hands together without the ANC during the talks of the GNU. It already says that they agree that the ANC is the only organization that can lead this country. And for us to ensure that the ANC continues to do that is to ensure that young people of the ANC, we ensure that we bring capable young people, but groom them in ensuring that we don't corrupt them, we don't decide on their behalf who must be their leader. We also don't teach them alcohol so that we make them focus on alcohol. This was the strategy of the apartheid regime that made sure that our parents are in beer halls so that they don't become productive. And these are the things that we're speaking to. And then we want to ensure that the struggles that we're speaking of, they continue. So it is very difficult these days for the ANC to allow a new generation to take over. And the SG of the ANC would be difficult for some leaders to accept that you are now the Secretary General and they want to raise a lot of issues that is not ready and all that. And we're here to say that continue on your path. We will support you because we understand your transition to power means a transition to other generations and new ideas so that the ANC can be taken to other economies. So comrades, we are going to our conference. And this conference, some people go on TV and say that the Youth League was not existing for 10 years. And some of them forget that in that 10 years, they were part of ensuring that the Youth League becomes MAM. And then we're here to say to them, we're going to rewrite history and correct you. And we're going to bring a vibrant, militant youth league in Gauteng that will assist the ANC to win elections. In doing so, comrades, let's call the president of the Youth League, Comrade Colin Nokumalachi, to give us his words. Manda. Ela kwa vivu Mandela nam der viva. Kwa vivu Tambo nam der viva. Kwa vivu Mugawa nam der viva. Kwa vivu Lulu nam der viva. Kwa vivu Digawa nam der viva. Kwa vivu Mbalula nam der viva. Kwa vivu Maine nam der viva. Uvevu malati nam da viva. Uvevu malati nam da viva. Ela mama unga kalema. Ai we mamu we. E mama unga kaliwo. Ule paso pa kosema. Mama unga kalema. Thank you very much, President. Manja, Wetsala, Wirala, Wetsala. Thank you very much, convener of Gauteng, former chairperson of COSAS in Gauteng. Comrade Mbalula, the youth league is not hijacked. It's led by products of the student movement here in Gauteng. We can confirm that everyone who's given the responsibility here, the task team, we can trace them from somewhere. And we felt that we must mention that point because it's a debate that must come into the ANC. You must start asking each other, I had the chair of the Women's League speaking about the razzmatazz. Now it's confirmed that what Nzako is doing and our move of not sleeping, it's a generational thing. It moves on continuously. I'm the only one who sleeps here. You are acknowledged chairperson of the Women's League. PC members, Comrade NEC members of the Youth League who are here. I saw Comrade Nomo here, Comrade Tombi, Comrade Palo. I don't know if she's still here. If I've not seen you, we are also acknowledged peace members of the ANC. The most important people, business people. Today it's about you. It's about you. Under these difficult conditions, you still see a need of putting your hands in your pockets to fund the revolution. Because if revolution, if it's not funded, it will be suspended. Yeah. Now we must appreciate the efforts that we put in. The new councillor of 121, who happens to be the chair of the ANC Youth League also. When he was processed there on the list processes, I told him that no, now that the one left to be MPN, there's a new opportunity. Maybe it's good that you are processed on the list. Now you can be a councillor. He did not believe me, he thought I'm managing him. At least today, he's a young councillor in a city where he's a chairperson. But also,
to acknowledge again and again the chairperson of Gauteng, who's also a product of the student movement and the youth movement. From the Kaslama Kas, the Tembis, the Kaslama leader. Tembis, the Kaslama leader. Comrade Panya Panya. Yeah, who's always supportive of the Youth League. And as from our days of courses, you know, I've never told the story to Comrade Panyaza that my first job I was given by you. You taught me how to write a statement when you were a spokesperson of my age. That's how much the leadership here believes in the youth. The former SG of the ANC Youth League, president of the ANC Youth League, he does not boast about it. It's only him and Nelson Mandela who have ever became such. There's no one else. I've not even attempted Comrade Nzaku. It's only Comrade Fikile Mbalula and Comrade Nelson Mandela who became SGs and presidents of the ANC Youth League. It's only him and Comrade Dumanokwe and Comrade Otasi Sulu who became SGs of the Youth League and SGs of the ANC. 3. Now, I think Toya man lemang into it. How easy my comrade to go conferencing. Many of you here, you have never been elected in your lives. You have just been appointed. I didn't even feeling out to agree delegate. It's not an easy thing. That's why you must celebrate it all the time. Sticking to my commitment that I've made to Comrade Nzaku, that today we will save more time and give more to the SG of the ANC. But I felt that before, because we've reflected as we opened our 80th anniversary celebration, we called all former presidents and former SGs to reflect on the history of the movement. Because the most important thing which I always emphasize, Comrade Nzaku, is that any organization that erases its institutional memory, it will die a natural death. That's why the ANC in KZN, it could not see MK members inside the ANC because we don't ask each other who is who, because we've erased the institutional memory. That's why we can easily be infiltrated. Criminals, everybody else can be with us without us seeing, because we've become so welcoming to a point whereby even a criminal can be given positions in the ANC without being questioned why they are in the ANC. Now it's very important, comrades, that we go back to basics. Now we did that as the Youth League on purpose. We called all the presidents who are still alive. We called all the deputy presidents who are still alive. We called all the former SGs who are still alive, TSGs and TGs, to reflect on different moments and generational vehicles that have advanced, because we want to learn from their mistakes so that we're able to carry the revolution moving forward. Because we can't behave that we are the first people to lead the Youth League when the Youth League is celebrating 80th anniversary. It means that there are those different generations that were there before us. And we've encouraged provinces and regions and branches to do the same. Go and fetch comrades that are demoralized, who were demoralized by our own internal processes, who were demoralized by exclusion, who were demoralized by vote buying, who were demoralized by not agreeing to be led by criminals. Go and fetch them and tell them that the ANC is in a process of renewal. We're fixing ourselves, and we believe that it's yourselves who can come and rectify the mistakes that we've made in the past. And the most important thing is to agree that you did mistakes. Because you can't say that all was well when the State Capture Commission tells you that the state institutions were captured. You can't say all was well when reports are saying that the most unperforming municipalities are also the ones led by African National Congress employees. That can't be well. You can't say all is well when there's crime at its highest, when our towns are hijacked by illegal foreigners, when unemployment is at 40% and the 60% of it is the youth of South Africa. You can't say it's well. You must say that there's a problem. You can't say it's well when the economy of the country is still in the hands of the few. You can't say it's well in the structure of the economy the way it is, because the way the economy structure is not sustainable. It's not sustainable that minorities are in charge of the economy while majorities are dying in poverty. It can't be well 8 years later. That's why a radical president, Anton Lembete, who happened to have an LLB, who later was recruited by the president of the ANC, Comrade Fikile, like I said, to come and work in his law firm, and later made him a partner in the law firm. Now the moral of the story is that leaders of the ANC must never stop grooming young people and give them opportunities to grow. Now, under typical times of oppression, President Fikile, like I said, took the young Lembete, who was a lawyer, put him in his law firm in Johannesburg. Later, he not say that Lembete thinks he's too smart, he must go to the streets and stuff. He later made him a partner in his own law firm. Now, Comrade Panyaza, the moral of the story is that when we said we want blue lights for the youth in Gauteng, we're not saying it because we like the green suit of Tsako. We're saying it because we understood the importance of preparing leadership to take over who are young people. And there's no way where they're going to learn if you don't learn in the field of struggle. And the field of struggle is the one that we're talking about, which is there, Komaboni. Lena Comrade Panyaza, le fiyo mabone le sale banyane. Wale tima babawe. But I felt that we must learn from that generation. But we must also learn from a generation that I characterize as a defy and account later generation of Peter Mokaba. Because for the longest time, Comrade SG, the media were made us to believe that Mama Winnie Mandela and Comrade Peter Mokaba were bad for democracy. All those revolutionaries, it was a taboo to speak about in the ANC sometimes, to speak good about President Peter Mokaba and Mama Winnie Mandela. When you Google Comrade Peter Mokaba, you are told that he was an HDR terrorist. When you Google Mama Winnie, you were told that was disruptive. Because that history is not well captured by ourselves. Mama Peter Mokaba played a crucial role in mobilizing the young lions in this country to fight and defy an apartheid system. When President Oliver Tambo called the youth of the country to run the country ungovernable, the generation of Peter Mokaba did not ask why or when. They stood up and fought a system with everything they have in their hands. Those are selfless killers of the movement. Mama Winnie Mandela, when many were in jail, others were in exile, kept the battle in the country going, fearlessly slow. He left his kids and his families when his husband was in prison. He fought for the liberation of our people. Now that generation is a generation that relaunched the ANCYL clique in this country, led by fearless Peter Mokaba, who was popular for his slogan of freedom or death, victory certain. Now there is the courage you must take from it. Because we're saying that Aluta Kontunua. Struggle has not been completed. We have not arrived to a national democratic society where everyone lives freely, no poverty, no hunger, there is no gender-based violence, there is no crime, where society is free to do whatever we want freely. But it's the ANC that made a commitment that it will deliver the people of South Africa to that carnal land of the National Democratic Society. Now, the struggle has not ended. Then there was a generation that I characterize as a cutting the path to not lose the generational mission, take over. The generation of the likes of Comrade Mbalula, when he was the Secretary General and later President from 2004 to 2008. And this generation is the one that is now responding to their mission of taking over the ANC, which is now leading the African National Congress. It's also a generation that introduced, together with Peter Mkaba, a popular culture in the movement, where the ANC Youth League was now associated with all popular young people like Dr. Kumalo, Lebo Matosa, Kumshaka, and all of those popular people were brought in the generation. And those who like to idolize a lot felt that this youth league is becoming a youth league of celebrities. Do not understand that there is a reason why you must bring a popular voice in the movement, because a message is taken to the people by those that listen. Abanye bakhuluma isilungu bathi le generation yama-whiskey, yama-cigar, yama-celebrity. They do not understand the importance of mobilizing that youth to come into the African National Congress. Because I don't understand, Comrade Ntsako, why Cubs and Maporisa are not active members of the youth league. It must worry you as a leader of Gauteng. Why all the popular young people who don't even need buses to convene a stadium? I'm saying for you, Ntsako, to do a rally, you must harass Comrade Panyaza every day looking for buses. Those ones, they even charge you for seeing them. Now the question is, who is the leader of society? If yourselves, you have to beg people to come and see you. When there are those that come themselves, they even pay. They take their last cents to see DJ Maporisa. Ntsako, you can move around the mall of Sante. Not even one person will greet you. Bagasu Medi Center. Maybe no Kauninyana because Unalota TV matters here. Now the Youth League must be a popular organization amongst the youth. Arnake Youth League is serious. We want a Youth League that will utilize the resources that they are giving you to relaunch. The reason the business people are funding you, they are funding the Youth League to exist everywhere. Amara go to conference, be elected. When you are done elected, take positions of the Youth League as leadership to go and negotiate for tenders and employment. That says that be a Youth League that mobilizes the youth behind the banner of African National Congress. You must be a Youth League that resolves and speaks fearlessly against all the socio-economic problems facing the youth of this country. When I was going to Parliament, then the SG of the ANC was fighting with me, and Comrade Panyaza, they were saying that why am I declining to go to Parliament? It is because we have a responsibility to build a structure. And it might be difficult if its president, under this difficult condition, it might need its president to always be available on the ground to resolve problems. Now, if the president is also consumed in issues of problems, can you imagine that a department of the president of the Youth League, it's got problems, it's collapsing. It means the president will not be able to do other work. He'll be fully focusing on that thing. But we've decided to send more than 17 young people below the age of 35 to Parliament. It has never happened before. Under these difficult conditions of the GNU, the ANC listened to us when we said that that side of struggle called Parliament, it needs also vibrant young people who will fight for progressive policies to resolve our problems. But we can confirm that the youth is there. Labor parties sometimes go parliament, let's go fella pelu. Stage is a I was there for 5 years. You will never get used to that stage. Now, aba paisa nyana Comrade ntsako, refela raba bitsa raba correct, amula le molo. Let's go fella pelu. Look at the youth, the president of the youth league has sent to parliament. They can't even debate. You must be able to say they've made mistake here. Let's correct them, let them build. By the time the 2 years end, they would have been perfect like those who have been in parliament from 94. Because you can't compare them with people who have been in parliament from 94. But somebody call a parliament. Mutwa ochi sing parliament over Wolaile because Abasana the office. But we're saying, comrades, the ANC is under attack. And when the ANC is under attack, it is always the youth of the ANC that must rise and defend and protect African National Congress. The setback of 40% is a problem of the ANC Youth League. It's a problem that we must go and resolve ourselves. But we can only resolve it when there's those structures of the ANC Youth League. Now, comrades, as I've said, that today is about money. We're lobbying business, which you know majority are black that support us, if not all. That they must support our battle to force the ANC-led government to introduce export quotas. The president of the ANC announced that he supports the Youth League program of introducing export quotas when it comes to critical minerals in this country. Because it does not make sense that factories in Alexander have turned into informal settlement when there are raw materials below our soil that live as raw as they are to go to Europe and build secondary industries at the expense of the people of South Africa. Now, the reindustrialization program, Comrade SG of the ANC, is a program that we are ready to fight for until we achieve. And it can only be achieved fully when the ANC implements what we've agreed with towards the elections, what we've committed to our people, that we utilize our raw materials below the soil to create employment and business opportunities for South Africans first. The 30% we can borrow them for now, but the 70% must remain here to reindustrialize our economy as per resolutions of the African National Congress. Because part of our biggest problems we have, we've got good resolutions and non-implementation. Businesses are suffering, black businesses are suffering, people are taking PIC money, they're building malls. Now, shelter PIC, shelter mall. When businesses come with proposals to create proper employment of industries, that declined. But big, white, male-owned businesses are given money to build malls and shopping centers. Who can recommend more because we don't have money? Majority of South Africans don't have money. Now, when you take money of pensioners in the PIC and put it in the building of malls, how are you assisting to resolve the problems? Because when you build a new mall here in Johannesburg or somewhere, let's use a township. If there was a shopping center there, the shops move from that shopping center, they move to a new mall. That shopping center becomes a ghost shopping center. Now, we have not created any employment. You have just upgraded those who are working in that shopping center to a better mall. But the condition of employment has been the same, and crime. Those shopping centers get hijacked by illegal foreigners. They utilize them for illegal things. It becomes drug hubs. Now, as a youth league, we've given you solutions. And those solutions can resolve the problems of facing of unemployment. Anyway, you just need the Minister of DTI and the Minerals to agree, like how those ones of education and sports agreed on school sports when we've resolved only a long time ago and not implemented it. They implement our resolutions. School sports is a long resolution of the ANC. It took people from far there to come in within 3 months, Comrade Panyaz. They signed an MOU that was long drafted by the ANC. You see, leaders of the oppositions are working. Leaders of the ANC are not working. Because we are scared to take decisions. I can say what Chaba man. The reality is that, comrades, if Comrade Panyaza was not bold enough here in Gauteng to utilize Nasin Span, Mapanya, maybe we'll be at 3% here. It's a fact. It's a fact. We'll be at 3% here. Because he had to carry these elections alone. Even the Youth League tried to carry them alone because the problems faced in Gauteng of unemployment and crime, and there were big problems. What made Mashaba popular in Johannesburg for him to go to parliament of cleaning of buildings of Johannesburg? So you are no more clean up a building in Johannesburg. So deploy when a power to clean up a building. Now implementation. Ramakwala. Man is going back to treasury every year from sitters everywhere. I'm saying the president of the country announces a 23 billion for upskilling of the youth in South Africa, which was going to upskill 2.5 million young people in this country. President Waibua, or no, this thing will happen even before elections. We're out of elections, we're going to 100 days, it is still not implemented. A program that is budgeted for that can create employment for upskilling of the youth who will get stipends, 2.5 million. Very soon, Comrade Panyaza will have problems because you will not be able to pay stipends. Because people are scared to take decisions and implement. People in departments are still fighting which company must be utilized to implement this program than implementing it. People are dying of poverty. Others are worried about the company that must work to implement the program. Now, Comrade SG, we're busy going to the house. But we say, take decisions. If it means you must recall ministers every week until you get the right ones, let's do that. That is the only way we're going to come back to power. Let's dust our resolutions, implement them. Let's be decisive. We need fearless, decisive leadership. Nako youth league bantseba. Abi bualwe na haka usamamele kitya decision. Whether we rata or we rati malakame kiche. Because you can't have leaders who are scared to take decisions. Leadership must be decisive and fearless. And when you are elected for that term you are in, branches don't owe you another term. You must work in the term you are in, make decisions, whether wrong or right, history will judge you on decisions you've made. Because if we are cowards, we are going to deploy people, they will think that they are not accountable to the house. Le bona ba le ba opposition re ka ba accountisha ke re ba ka ra mmuso wa rena pela mmuso kwa rena we have invited them or about to because we have a setback again. Now this narrative that mmuso re na le botia ya rena botie ke mmuso wa ANC o re memileng batho bona gore ba re thushe go busha ga botse go apele. Now yela ba idirile ngwanyalo la maloba ya go sign bela act. The president must be decisive and remove that woman. I don't negotiate power. If the president says go left, go left. If he says right, go right. Because we've elected him to lead us under good and difficult times. Whether you are in the GNU, you are not in the GNU representing your own political party. You are there deployed by the ANC-led government, led by President of the ANC, to implement resolutions and decisions of the African National Congress. As simple as that. Renova neither for the no more will negotiate with you on that and that. But they are we don't compromise on important issues of social change, which includes NHI, the Bella Act, and many other decisions that has to do to address the issues that affect our people of inequalities, poverty, unemployment, and socio-economic problems. We don't compromise on those areas. Now, comrades, you see why we want the money. Now, if you have taken out 50 and you have got another 50, because this is revolution in Chile. We are now going to the JSE on the 11th of October because our research tells us that they are also contributing to the high level of unemployment because they are not reinvesting into the economy. But JSE are reinvest into the economy because they want to sabotage the ANC-led government because they want us to be a useless government and be out of power. They reinvest it in areas where their friends are in charge at our expense. Now, the Women's League has committed to join us. Business must join us. Everyone must join us because this backend is a backend of all South Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the sitting president of the ANC Youth League. We can confirm, Comrade Colin, that the 26th National Conference of the Youth League was very sober when it was elected. But we're about to get into the penultimate item for this evening, and that is the keynote address. But before I call the chairperson of the province of Gauteng, it would be amiss of me not to say that Gauteng is a very special province. This province is special. And the reason that this province is special is because we constantly sit on the cusp of opportunity. We're one of the top 10 largest economies in the continent. We are the largest contributor to the GDP, even though we have the smallest landmass. We have a high concentration of institutions of higher learning, and we harbor 3 metros in our very small province. But I suppose to lead this province is also to carry a disproportionate burden to liberate the people of this country and to better the lives of men. So really, to lead this province, Comrade Banyaza, means you yourself are a very special man. And let's call on the very special person, special chairman, who is the chairperson of the very special province, Gauteng, Comrade Banyaza.
You are also requested to introduce the SG before you.
Yeah, I don't want to speak. Yeah, I just want to do it. Amandla. Thanks, comrades. Long live the dance spirit of Comrade Gala. Long live. Amandla. Ripilele, President Ramaphosa. Ripilele. Thanks, program directors. I want to thank you for this opportunity and further thank the entire leadership of the Youth League that is here as our host, led by their national president. I didn't know Runuku Kole. I will explain to young people one day how this young man was left to my custodian. His father was my close friend. I want to also acknowledge the provincial leadership and the entire leadership of the Youth League, and also acknowledge our SG, Comrade Voter, and acknowledge the leadership of the Women's League that is in the House, as well as the entire leadership of regions that are here from the ANC and the PEC itself. Also, let me acknowledge business people that are here and thank them for this contribution from those that are in the arts sector and those that are in business. Comrades, my task is very simple. It's just to introduce our SG, and we want to thank him for agreeing to be here and accepting this invite to come and address young people in our province. But we have made a big mistake in the company of young people that I don't share with you, something that is very dear to my heart. Hopefully, by the time we leave here, we'll agree that it's the new mission that we need to start now. Now that the president of our country have signed the Bella bill to be an act now, the celebrations are over. The next biggest task is that every child, including a child that is in a private school and a child that is in the public school, they must now know the history of our country and know who Richard Nimulogwana was. Yes. They must know who Chris Hani was. They must also know who Winnie Nomzamo Matsigizela was. So I want to challenge you as young people that the resolution that we've taken in various forums and the resolutions that we've taken in various conferences to ensure that the history of our country become compulsory in our education system must be implemented. It's very important, comrades, that we have to ensure that that reactionary Department of Basic Education must know that they will never shelve that resolution to make history compulsory in all high schools in our country. And we must underline all. When we say all, we mean all high schools. Whether the high school is in a private school, or the high school is in a public school, or the high school is in Orania, they must learn our history, and the project of publishing our history must not be stopped by this minister. There is a project, it has been concluded, to compile the history of our country and to profile our leaders. And that task was concluded. And our fear, Comrade SG, that this one that failed to sign or participate in the Bella bill may now want to stop the unstoppable of stopping our children to learn the history of our country. The true history of our country. So, comrades, if you understand that all of us here, we are products of sacrifices. We are products of those that sacrificed everything for us to be who we are today, will understand the importance of pushing this agenda to make history compulsory. I want to argue, comrades, that in those days when Nelson Mandela managed to be a lawyer, those days where Oliver Tambo managed to pass the way he passed his science subject, and our leaders that had all the qualifications, if they were selfish, because at that time to have a degree was a passport to good life, if they were selfish to continue with their studies or their family things and leave the struggle, will not be here by now. So the only sacrifice that is expected out of us is for our children and our children's children to know them. And for them to be known, they must be taught in the classroom. We must not tolerate our children coming with flowers when it's Valentine's Day, but when it's the 21st of March, no one gives them a constitution to understand why it's a Human Rights Day. We must not be excited when our children come to us on Mother's Day with love letters. But when it's the day where Chris Hani was assassinated, it is as if nothing happened. So our ability, therefore, to start this struggle is very important. So we want to call on the Youth League, wants to call on SASCO, wants to call on COSAS, want to call on the Young Communist League, the Women's League. Comrades, now that the portfolio of education is no longer in our hand, we need to put a strong alternative structure to pressurize this department. We need to put that education alliance to ensure that the enemy must not take advantage of the borrowed power that we've given them. And the pressure must be there. Comrade voter, you know, when this act, or the Bella Act, was signed by our president, some of us who have been in the student movement since day one were not only relieved, but at least were thrilled that our children will no longer be tortured and be asked about code of conduct that excludes the shape and the character of their hair. We can't have our children in our school. You know, there's this obsession with the children, with the hair of our children. And this obsession, when that bill was signed, came to an end. But my worry, and that's my big worry, that bill might have been signed, but the ANC and its structures are not putting modalities to ensure come academic year 2025, we implement that particular bill. Because if we can't do that, we would have missed an opportunity. So comrades, we are children of Banimulukwane. On the 30th of November next year, comrades, it will be 40 years since Banimulukwane perished. And the 40-year anniversary on the death of Banimulukwane can't go unnoticed. President of the Youth League, we should lead and tell young people that Banimulukwane was shot on the leg outside Sasolburg, but managed to walk 200 kilometers to go out, but unfortunately he couldn't, was surrendered by the army. There were only 3, the army with helicopters, with Caspers, with anything. they took the army 4 full hours fighting. It's only when they threw the bomb from the helicopter that they perished. And such bravery can't be left without being celebrated by us, Comrade. It can't be. It can't be. Because they laid their lives for us to be where we are today. And as I say, comrades, you all know, when we go to celebrate June 16 National Days, when you go to celebrate Women's Day on the 9th of August, our children are not there, it's us. And we must push that these celebrations must happen right inside the classroom. And it must be compulsory to ensure that our history is inside the classroom. That's the youth struggle, comrade. And that struggle must not be left to any other person, must be our collective struggles. Comrades, I'm proud to invite our SG. I think Comrade Colin correctly captured who our SG and correctly captured the role played by our SG and also outlined the historic mission that was executed by our SG. When it was difficult, comrades, those that, and Comrade Jovicho said it when we were at the renewal, when it was difficult when we entered, and I think history will document that critical intervention. When it was critical and all of us were starting to doubt what we believe in when we entered the Polokwane conference of the ANC, it took voter to go on top of tables to say we are not going back, we're going forward. That's the bravery that led us to be where we are. And that's the bravery that brought many resolutions that were taken in the ANC so that all of us can be proud of this movement. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, welcome the Secretary General of the ANC.
Thank you. Thank you. Amanda. Awetu. Raw young lions, raw. We are the future. No one can stop us. We are the future. No one can stop us. Thank you very much. Colin Malachi, President of the ANC Youth League, the Chairperson of the Youth League in Gauteng, Comrade Ntsako and your collective, the leadership of the ANC in the province led by Comrade Panyaza, our provincial chairperson, the leadership of the ANC Women's League led by Comrade Faith, the leadership of our Progressive Youth Alliance, and good evening to all of you, comrades. I realize that I'm standing between you and supper. So I'm going to try to be very brief. The 80th anniversary of the Youth League is a special occasion. And I think you, comrades, for some of us who knew nothing, grew up, born and bred in the youth movement, and come through the ranks of the African National Congress, we have always understood and learned that the ANC Youth League is a preparatory school. The ANC Youth League is a manufacturing factory. Leadership preparation for the African National Congress. And if you have not gone through that school, you will see dithering and not really factory faults, but you will see the disconnect. because the Youth League is an organization of young people created by the African National Congress to breathe life to society in terms of Congress ideas to the youth of our country, wherever they are found, because the youth is not a homogeneous entity. You've got youth in the church, but you can make a mistake because you go to Conca and see all important people, then think that all youth are like Conca. And other youth are in the church. Others are unemployed. Others are nowhere. Now, youth is not monolithic. It's not a homogeneous entity. It is disparate. In a sense that when you lead the youth, you must understand first where they are located. What are the expressed interests of young people, and which are not the same. And the ANC Youth League is the one that takes the ideas of Congress to the youth. Young people get to know about the ANC, what it stands for, because of the ANC Youth League. It is a political school on its own, where you are allowed to make mistakes. We are the only youth organization in this country, 4 decades, uninterrupted, indestructible struggles. We breathe life to the African National Congress. We are the preparatory school of the African National Congress. We are an organ of the ANC, of which in its overall body politic and policy we participate. We have generated ideas. We have built the African National Congress. It is in 1949 and 1944 that the history of the ANC was not the same. After the birth of the African National Congress Youth League, we championed the militant program of action. Your first president, when Nelson Mandela talked about Anton Limbede, he doesn't stop talking. Anton Limbede died at the age of 28. He was a lawyer at the age of 28. At the age of 28, when Limbede died, he was a lawyer. He was the president of the Youth League. He talked about stoical discipline. They produced the basic document of the youth. They breathed life to the ANC and changing the path of struggle in our country forever. Militant politics were generated and planted in the ANC by the youth. The generation of Nelson Mandela, Anton Limbede, Mkolisi Majombozi, Walter Sisulu, Congress Mbata, A.P. Mda. That was a special generation. On the 10th of September, the ANC Youth League at Bantuman was launched, and the only woman who attended that launch was Messi Sulu. Ngoba umntu wakhe bepha. Comrade Walter Sisulu. The ANC Youth League on the 10th of September was formed. Comrades, the path of history changed forever in terms of the life of the African National Congress. And today we are celebrating, here in Gauteng only, 8 years of the ANC Youth League. We started last week. Comrades say they will celebrate it with a march. Excellent program of the Youth League. But I argue with the president of the Youth League, it can't end like that. 8 years of the Youth League. Peter Mugaba used to say the Youth League is a boomerang. Is a boomerang. That's what Peter Mugaba used to say. I mean, Oliver Tambo, talking about the youth in 1985, ANC January 8 statement, he says, and we won the mantle of the young lions. And he said to the youth, render the country ungovernable and the apartheid machinery unworkable. That was the clarion call. 1985, the International Year of the Youth, declared by the United Nations. South Africa was not going to be the same again. In 1987, in 1986, the Boers introduced the state of emergency. 1985, 86. And then 86, Lagrange comes in, Adrian Flock in 1987. And the South African Youth Congress is formed in Cape Town at Belleville, UWC today, led by Peter Mugaba coming out of Robben Island, Rapumulikani as the Secretary General of the ANC Youth League. Now, I'm saying that, comrades, the history of the youth movement in this country is what has brought us to be where we are today. And then we won the mantle of the young lions, death-defying young lions of Oliver Tambo. But it didn't start there. You can talk about 1976. You can talk about 1944. You can talk about Umkhonto weSizwe. The first commander of Umkhonto weSizwe was Nelson Mandela. He came from the ranks of the Youth League, the Defiance Chief Campaign Organizer. That is why we talked about Mandela Plan. That's what we talked about in terms of organizing. So if you understand the Mandela Plan, you will understand how to organize the people. It is the basics that we were taught, that you've got to mobilize all sections and sectors of society to come on board in terms of mass mobilization behind the agenda of national liberation in this country. The Youth League was there, 8 years of indestructible struggle. That's what we are celebrating. And comrades, you must be proud that when the Youth League turned 8 years, you are at the helm. You are not an interim structure. You are a launched organization. You've got a president, you've got a national executive committee. You've got a burden, a big one, even to outshine the past generations, to lead the youth of this country. And you must understand what this organization is. It's not an organization of conferences and to be misused by ANC leaders for their own personal agendas. The ANC Youth League, I see the eyes boy and girls. These are people who contribute to the ideological outlook of our struggle. When we talk about ideas, new, fresh from the box, they come from the Youth League. Militant, radical as they are, we want them in the ANC. Your job is not to repeat after elders, is to think, but you must understand that you are the Youth League of the ANC. You derive your existence from the Constitution of the African National Congress. At all material times, difficult times in the struggle, the Youth League was there in terms of contributing, in terms of ideas. But that thing is not also far-fetched, comrades. It's not far-fetched. Oliver Tambo talks about the youth, and then the ANC says these are death-defying young lions. Philosophers talk about the youth. Marx says the youth is the most revolutionary strata. They don't constitute a class. They are a strata in society. Karl Marx, he says that the youth is the most revolutionary strata. Lenin says about the youth must learn. The youth must learn. The youth must learn historical and dialectical materialism. Now, when you are at the helm of the youth movement and organization, you've got to have the tools of analysis, study and understand historical and dialectical materialism. Historical and dialectical materialism in today's understanding of our struggle is the national liberation of our country. When we got to jail in 1986, there was an old man there. His name was Caleb Mutsabi. They called him Commandant. And then we were excited about concepts of class consciousness, Marxism, and all of that. And then he said, "Banna lizi historia le khotla." And then every day from 9 o'clock in the evening till late, there was a class on the topic of national democratic struggle. And the rest will follow. That's where the strategy and tactics even today begins. It starts first to say, what struggle are we waging? Then you will understand non-racialism and everything else, that if you understand colonialism of a special time. You see people who want to change the ANC and make it a black consciousness movement, and others make it a black excellence. Once you say black excellence, you become an NGO. You no longer become a movement, because everybody is black excellence. We too love black excellence. Umdomnyama, who's doing well, especially a scientist, a physician, an actuary, and all of that, is black excellence. It's an NGO program. We are bigger than an NGO. We are a boomerang. An NGO is an organization that exists for a special activity, HIV and AIDS. We are bigger than that. Single issue campaign. We don't exist for a single issue campaign. We exist for the liberation of our people. Total liberation. And what is that liberation? Is to reverse years of colonialism of a special time. And that is why we have a character of a non-racial organization. Precisely because we don't exist as a black excellence movement. We exist for the total liberation. What is total liberation? It's a transformation of this nation from an undesirable state to the desirable. And what is the undesirable state? It was defined in terms of race, gender, and class. And that is why the National Democratic Revolution, it is about, the National Democratic Revolution is about primarily the resolution of the national question, about who we are. Who we are, how have this society we are in evolved? What is that society we are chasing? Our strategic objective says we are chasing a free, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic South Africa. In between there, you've got the Freedom Charter. The Freedom Charter and all its clauses is the full realization of the Freedom Charter, a better life for all. That is why in every election, we can say together, whatever in terms of slogan, but there will always be better life for all. Better life for all will always be there, because it's the full realization of the Freedom Charter. From the people shall govern to the last clause. And we've begun in that path in terms of what we are pursuing. So we call it in the strategy and tactics the desirable state we are fighting to achieve. It is called the National Democratic Society. And then in the center of that, our nucleus, it is led by the African National Congress Youth League, ANC Youth League. That's why we exist in campuses, and we don't fight with SASCO to become SRC, because we are not single. The reason we are in the campus, we are exporting, we are importing ideas of Congress to the students, because the students are not exposed to the ANC and its ideas. They are confined. They are learning. And then depending on what you learn, you are confined in that. Our role in that campus is to teach them about the ANC and what it seeks to achieve. To tell them about the Bella Bill, to tell them about the NHI, to tell them that the struggle is not over, it continues. And that is why we are there. We are there with the ideas of the African National Congress among the students. That's why when it came to a push to do away with this thing of SRCs, contesting by the Youth League, it was easy to take a resolution in Congress. Let's leave this thing. Because people, if they can't make it in the SRC, they then come to the Youth League and become a branch chairperson of the Youth League and fight with SASCO. We stopped that thing. You see now we are winning SRC elections, but we are winning them in the wrong time, when there is no election. We lost this SRC election at the wrong time, when there was an election. And then you said your account of losing the election was NSFAS. Next year is the election. Comrades, it seemed to me that victories in the campuses are not prolonged. They are temporary. This year, Kiruna, next year, Kibon. Is why? Is in the character of leadership. The student leaders we are electing to lead campuses cannot sustain the momentum. Kiba Tubadi 1 year. 1 year. No, it's in one night, what? 1 year. You are already somewhere, we are not there. So, Ria winner this year, next year, Ibaba Tubaba. Why? So, the Youth League must provide ideas so that we get out of the cyclical mode. The cyclical mode. Comrades, let me tell you, in the ANC, we have earned our stripes. Leadership has never been given at all material times. We have earned our stripes. In the ANC, as the Youth League, we have produced leaders. Our commander, the president of the Youth League, Comrade Patrick Molawa, is not here in this board. He died in the field of Zimbabwe. Not Bulawayo. He died in Zimbabwe alongside the detachment of Krisa and Ispolilo fighting to penetrate South Africa. Our president died there in Zimbabwe, killed by the Rhodesians with AK-47, died in the bushes of Zimbabwe, of the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League has produced leaders because they were prepared in the ANC. They might have not been secretary generals, but the ANC all the time have been led. That's why the ANC, when it was banned, they created the youth section in exile. Thabo Mbeki came from the Youth League. There's clarity there. I don't know, Zuma claims this thing sometime, but it's not clear whether he ever came through the Youth League. And when he talks about it, he's making a terrible example. Why? We don't know this history. No proper history of a fort. Kalemba. Your Youth League got Deben and Batsama Kalemba. Mtwana Lua Jeka di Trakai. It's not the Amsavalazo tree. Arizibi. Riziva Youth League that contribute ideas. Wamonambek, Utwamu. That's why we defended him in the ANC after Oliver Tambo to become the national chairperson. Peter Mukaba came to the National Executive Committee and gave us a lecture. Why Comrade TM must be supported. Ramukheta, National Chair ya ANC, a transcender from National Chair, Yaba President ya ANC. Comrade Thabo Mbeki. is because Patubaba circulator. Wabona yabo Mafikizolo is dangerous because only horizontal entry. Wabona factory Aruna is not right now because anyone can lead. But any circulator in the system, let's the weakness. Urora Tamaka, Ugo youth leaker swing. I work as a lead, you or Kamuzama. Li Women's League is like that. Li Krea Musadi fella Sarihaya to Mama Koska. Alemuti Utuagai. But Tumavaya Parliament. Our factory Women's League. Leadership is circulator. Lilu unite your time, li circulator mo. Over time, litabelir no ko youth league o iniliso, you know each other. Wabona mutu uno kena fela kamuara luna like ngu, moara di nkutedi ngubuta ngu entu. You don't know where this black sheep come from, Revan. Khalerili mo nkuya arezeli. And we know we have learned, through our mistakes in this organization. The history of the Youth League must be taught. And I told the Youth League president, Karemure, Twantuete Maholo Loman, ki 80th anniversary. Weten Tota Bonal. Yes, in Totenzema. Yeah, Riemisemo Santini convention. Yeah, I want to challenge about the idea. Liba wabukan sistem. Baya challenge about the notes. I want to work in a challenge and tones and ninja by please. Organizer Mukito Adiko Santin Convention Center. Livon says Chaba. Or youth league king is in monely recited today little part Amukilate Lotam. Lisile youth go Soweto, little pata go play a solo call from. Responsibility go Soweto theater, which I view, Richeribo Mahumo, we were the Mulipat. Udutimo Nzago Uru celebrate the Youth League 80th anniversary. Why address them? Use it there, Kasi. Trying wait that it's a Kosovo to theater, born now, new up and down. Everybody, I patakwa. Scalabuagama Porisa Valisiko, Twanti Valimo, Ilifunya Fed, Polotiki Gamo, and all of that. Alina Kitwerima. Alina Kitwer. Banaskala Dalaga 8 years. Litalaga Yona. Nidala ngayo lento. Yes, libapalaga yona njali bona urluna litweri. Utswana kana limunna or musadi abatana limunna. Mostrating maratsweri khauta ka mutlu. Or munna batana le musadi marashebani li gold mo. Banna ba bamba ba fitla ba ipamula. Because we shebile fela. But aritsi ba tan strategy runar twile. Little gold to money shebile. Nzeli jiga gayo. You know, at some point, I remember Twaro. Nalma Comrade Mangala Twaro via Robben Island. And then they were in section 29. And Babamba Leva Twaro, Kiba et Apel Baba Uluno. Motu Tware to Tunyaka Makaro for Mospoto. Utwa exile, Bafita Batawa, Chelte Yal Hota. By a Spotunka, this Poto se Utawa ma SB da. Ma SB, special branch. But I'm a little Kirilla. So that's very Banwayo, ill discipline number one. But very proof case challenge. So more Balwanele, the Harrimos Poto, but I carry Utaba Wimanyanal Gerilla Linke, Makarofol Tunyemo, Silly. Take my SB, everybody must put on a rovale, Kalike Kemu. So, Mataga Aukren no man, Tumia says Lamo, Asisaru, as a 9mm. This is an automatic revolver. Kimagaro for it. Abatwela can Lebari group. Bafitaba surround that I play. But pizza pega, Upetwa to Zimo. They cost us a commander of Mkondo Wesizwe in the Free State, Kamanga. He fought with the Boers for 7 hours. And with the last bullet, he killed himself. Aba fetsa trapua ke makgowa mole. Ka Botawa, Babalo Pointer, commander ya Mkondo Wesizwe. It disguises the University of Free State. We never knew that guy is underground, he's a commander. We just know him as a lecturer. Kataona bu lecturer ba nix dimaniki and politiku na sabatlo imamela. Ale thoma le re bua politiki wa vaya o reactionary. Katiki ngwenya. He fought with the Boers for 7 hours and he died. Baba bamba 5 ba. But badali hand grenade. For about 3 years, but chiga gayo. Amaburu ayatsa clamp down. Badula ba insa so. Akuba bitsa ka mabitso ba skawara mtshana ulanyiwa. That day, my special branch around it, aba trapa ba insa and grenade isa sebetsi. And they were arrested with Soviet Union material. Hand grenade. And then commander died. Marginaluwa wona modi machi mo le banka serious. Uri batswa robena lente ki batho ba Mkhonto Wesizwe. You know tse ding tsa dintho tse a re di tlohela. Some people are brave today. You know we're burying Pravin Gordhan. Pravin Gordhan, you can never ask yourself about his history. And others think when we defend Pravin Gordhan, it's because Pravin Gordhan never sold out. He never sold out. He was a leader of the ANC. We as members of the ANC can have our misgivings about each other, but you can never take my history away. That this comrade was in the trenches. In the trenches, there is nothing written that said Pravin Gordhan sold out. When he's dead, we can't betray that history. Others are angry about him because he stood. Runa arna problem. Arilwali Pravin Gordhan, relwaka dilo tse ding, anersalwa ene le bogodu, o defenda bogodu. Babang but defender bogodu. Or this man was in the forefront of fighting state capture and managed to prove it in the organization. Urunali state capture and ITV. It's for those reasons that they are angry. Tomorrow you will perish and everybody will die, but will keep your history. And it doesn't mean at a given point we never fought or had an altercation or a political difference. We will never abandon those who stood till the end as members of the ANC. We will proudly baptize them with the flag of black, green, and gold as they go deep down 6 feet and honor their loyalty to the movement. They never betrayed the cause. They never betrayed the cause. They stood through up until the end. And that's what has happened. The Youth League must be a sharp razor in terms of these issues. Not uruagabat, but politically contextualized issues. You know, comrades, every time we have to elect leaders in the ANC, we always ask a strategic question. That thing has stopped in the ANC. Bomziba mo nerlika ufela mo Youth League and so on, Libo Faith. She's right. I can tell you why I know la mo doubt or rugila ba go Youth League. I mean, so wa mona o rutswile ore I gara lentsebi rekile bulalo. I was talking to comrades today. Some who are in the Youth Congress, some you don't know them. And then I said, look, we must have a meeting. I need to know where you are, because now I'm the Secretary General of the Youth League. I need to know where is our generation. Some of the people who brought us to life and defended us to be who we are today are still alive. They are unsung heroes. I said, comrades, where are you so that we can deploy you? It is a scandal that comrades, we bury them and then we don't know where they are. I ask Smama Mukoka every time I visit the regions, where is so and so? No, he's sidelined. Who sideline na muthu abatlang o sideline. Now na muthu atlang sideline. Mo ensing ka lwana. Alimpalla mo ke branchi. Awanyi wa go branchi ki fitla ke tshwara branchi le kitla jika ke le cheme. Whatever, una muthu atlang sideline. Mo le gotleng. Awo yena so tswalo. Never. Who sideline na muthu abatlang o sideline. Because comrades, if they don't get post batama and they want to blame comrades who are young and who are enthusiastic, or no, ANC leader Kibo Mafikizor, Baona Baduleti, Kimanga Itemba Tamai, Nakin Naoki Emiki SG, Agadumela sideline. It's a barabata Kadi Beketa Cheleteka Emma, Bambeta Komanga Kasiadi Etamu. Kibe twaki ba fwetu ba ilunguri ki hutsili bona mo youth league ba ntlhutlhura yo mare ka jika ke nna o ke tshwere ya gopi. If ever I had given up from Mangaung, I would have never come back. And you can never blame ANC people who are mushrooming and who are leading. What is important in the ANC, we must give ANC people the right politics. Skaraba Tlouna. We must give you the right politics so that you can think on your own. Because the politics of today, Linana Rokidi politics are Ruaka by Tapi. Lusebedi Swakiba Etapilu, Rana di campaign, it's Tzila. You are not going anywhere with those politics. Let me tell you, my comrade, you are not going anywhere. As I conclude, comrades, the role of the youth is very important. Pay attention, Comrade President. The celebration of the 80th anniversary of the Youth League must be a turning point to this leadership, led by Colin Malachi. No. Unka youth uisa ko JSC aru TV rushevelet urutloeta. You need to assert your leadership role. Leadership role is not asserted ujiga one place and been, you know, when I was in trouble, I used to go to Comrade Khalib. Big trouble. I used to be in trouble. Nah, as president, big trouble. On the verge of being expelled. It's not only the Women's League. I fought battles on behalf of the Youth League. Even sometimes, Sunday, I remind the KNWC it was a nightmare. Because I walked with giants. I knew what Peter went through. And I knew you comrades might not have that advantage. So, Comrade Khalifa was the SG, and then 7th floor, 6th floor, I'll go to him. I don't know how to deal with controversy and controversial people. You know what I suggest you must do? Make time li Matambo li Masisulu. Uye ko bona mo ba botse hore bo Mandela ne ba etsa yona ka nako tsa bona. And 2, o bone Madiba frequently. I'll tlhalosetse hore what happened. So I will sit with the old man. That's how I became close to Matambo. And then not so much Libo Masisulu. And then he will explain to me, Bo Liver Tambo, in the ANC what happened. Well, no, it was not a rosy path Youth League was very militant, and they had to fight. And leadership here, ANC, they were on the brink of being expelled. And Matambo, Oliver Tambo, they literally took over the ANC. But they didn't take it over. They also were following an idea. This thing, if we don't change it, it's just going to be an NGO. So they didn't fight for positions to lead. Like it happens now, Obama Chancellor, and everything. But the question is, when you are giving those things, what do you do? Where and why you want to lead and surpass generations? And then Mandela said to us, Nachif, Mo ANC, Neki to make out disrupt the meetings of Communist Party because Neresai. Every meeting of Communist Party do disrupt. Because Nerinka already ideas are because Communist Party need dominate to they come here with foreign ideology to take over. So Mandela were very militant in relation to African nationalism. And that is why we also pure Africanists, but former PAC. But Mandela said, no, now we remain here. So this split and disintegration, it happened. But we didn't read those things just in books. We had people to tell us stories. The SG of the ANC said skillfully, those people will understand what happened during their tenure when they're leading the Youth League and the difficulties they face. So we will indeed go to those lectures and storytelling and all of that. And then Mandela will tell us about who was Buthelezi, how the IFP came about, who was Buthelezi and all of that. He will tell us those stories, Sobukwe and so on. Now that was an enriching history. Now, we don't want a youth league that does not benefit from leadership in terms of ideas and experience, but only benefit or mkuke ntatung meg. When I'm meregwa mukun jack amshal. I jack Tom Krach, yeah, kun jack. So you leave the youth league paralyzed. We were not paralyzed, Runa, because we worked till Bopita. We walked literally. And our history is different because when we joined the struggle, we were there in the grassroots and all of that, militant and so on. It's not your fault that you were born in 1990. I'm sure if you were born in our time, you would have joined. It's not your fault. But you were never experienced that. We experienced it. We lived it. And that is our advantage today. But it is not a disadvantage to you. Your advantage is that you live with people who have led the youth movement and they are still alive. And talk to them about the history. But the ANC Youth League must be the provider of ideas. Because the ANC, in terms of its creation of the Youth League, has created a platform for young people to think, to express themselves. Comrades, you must not be afraid to mobilize and organize the youth. Like Thabo Mbeki will say, don't be sophisticated for the youth. You see, Runa youth rutloike na kaluna. Wabon? Unless Ukrea, SGA, ANC, Asaga, Limugana, got taboo tonight. Luna, there is no problem. But don't drown. But Kiluna little like the trend za youth. Or a youth I organize come co-chief. You are missing the point. Hager wira halal. Agits even twinky. Where's halal? Wira halal. So get the trend. Runa, above the trends, we are political beings. We make politics easy for the youth. And we are the ones who are decoding politics for the youth to understand politics not as taboo, but a way of life. Because that's what it is. What you argue in your house when you wake up about how you are going to make ends meet, on the table, bring food and all of that is politics. So politics is not just confined to professional career political people, and therefore, politics is a way of life. It's not a taboo like it has been described. And the Youth League dynamism is the one that must live in the minds of the youth of our country. So this 80th anniversary has not started. It must happen. And it's one thing, 80th anniversary. Agbatli re-stadia. Kimor twanzi rieti. Ewe. Like abagi jabulani. Twanzi kopanye batu baba nswa. Retire TV for 5 hours. Fela ribuaga 80th anniversary. Skaba fita fela rishebani matlo. Uyang kom. Ready Comrade every day. We must reach out. We must reach out to the youth in all our provinces and stop talking to ourselves. We talk to the general populace in terms of activities we are going to define. You see, when you march to JSE, you will be mobilizing more than 20,000 youth who are unemployed. Those youth will know that the Youth League cares about us. When you mobilize the youth around programs and say, come celebrate with us 80th anniversary. But that's about Isanten Convention, how over history. Or I'm bigger than anything of the stock fellas, the political parties, the Mickey Mouse. Runa, we've been in the trenches. This is where we come from. 80th anniversary of the Youth League. Pagadibula, the parties are in Bombay, whatever, but even stealing our symbols, they will not succeed. But they will be pepped up temporarily, but they will not succeed. Comrades, the youth need you and need your leadership. Lenin says the youth must learn. You don't become a braggart of knowledge. You assimilate in order to provide leadership. You learn. But you don't assimilate and only become a crammer, learn by rote, ukrema terminology, lidi jargon of the revolution. You then become a braggart. It is not seen in your deeds in terms of being a young person, how you want to conduct yourself. When you sit with youth, they must be obsessed with ideas. That's what Lenin says. Frantz Fanon says every youth have got its own, define its own mission. Ne? That's what Frantz Fanon says. You have said economic freedom in your lifetime. In your lifetime, that's what you said. And then others stole that and changed it into a political party. So it's fine. The point is that how are we going to realize economic freedom? You champion the cause of the youth. You must celebrate your own victories. The other day I was talking to you about the National Youth Service Program. It's your victory. Call me Li Chikunga. I told Chikunga, when you deal with NYDA, that's the project of the Youth League. It is the Youth League that must advise the ANC about who must lead the NYDA. It is not something people we don't know in the organization who create NYDA, annually connection in the youth movement. muthu wa kereke or something, utemole wa leader, or muthu wa bolo or whatever. So we need an all-rounder. Azange rabali NYDA Youth Commission ekila leader le batho ba ileng hore they don't come from the youth movement. The first chairperson National Youth Commission was Mahlengi. She was the General Secretary of SASCO. And then she came through the ranks of the Youth League Ramukhet. It came from us. Wabubedi aba Jabu Mbalula. Jabu came from the ranks of the Youth League and all of that. Ramunka Ramoitza chairperson. Babang Utwamo, I don't know. Kibo Mamba Nebalate. So you must choose from your ranks, because you've got an idea of what is youth development. We produced a national youth development policy long time ago. Long time ago. Today, what does the research, for instance, Colin, say to you about the state of the youth in the country? Yes, youth are unemployed, but baseline research, what is the state of the youth in South Africa? So if we say the youth is not homogeneous, where are they located? You need a research on that. But Baba and Chamo South Africa baratai. Because our dutimo, Rkanara Dumelana, and think that youth like the same thing. So we need to conduct that state of the youth. Look at the youth development, youth policy that today we've got the National Youth Massified Youth Service Program implemented by government is the youth. And that is public service, public sector implementation program of government. You are doing the right thing to engage in mass activity and engage in even the private sector. As you march to them, you must also meet them around the table and engage them. Urno, Luna, you are not investing. You are just beneficiaries, and then you are not investing in this country, and so on. So the Youth League must lead that struggle, which you are. But I'm saying, we are not Illuminati. We are celebrating Illuminati. Something is a winky mood. Umona linzima zona libatwata man liwona ki Illuminati eba nari Illuminati. We are mobilizing people. Relida batu. Colin, uri youthi ulatel. I do latela because we are para smart as their leader, but don't latela because either we are sensi or we are patrucha or we are bataza something. Wabot, and then all of that will be because of the Youth League. Rebilali president demota Youth League it's outside TV we keep youth. Wabot unota malia na ufite somewhere abathoba mutip. Maruska ba populist. Wabot ufeletsa wetsa dilo tse sa etswing rukuba no. Wabot rawo war tsenya. So utibiwa it means around programs. An 80th anniversary of the Youth League is such. When we brought somebody from Seshego to Joburg, he didn't even know lifestyle yamabo. Ramo batlela flat, Ramo didisa di flat. But the reason we're doing that is because we wanted the Youth League to be led by the youth. And I'm proud today, as a former student and an activist of this youth organization, that the Youth League is led by a young person. Ising mutweli nguri birthday ya ka 12 o'clock that day re mokheta utlabali 36. Monna usana li theme tse pedi ska tsuwa theme tse pedi. You are full youth. Utsama modi etenza bolimbede. People who died in this youth movement by 28, you are a graduate, you are everything. Kuri youth it's a mistake when they elected you. Lola tamukhalabe waditedu kwale batlamwetsa president ya Youth League. Rietsanga mtu. Ka 12 atloko ai palama u 36 years. No, emona sato dija di birthday tsawo. Wabona Monday relauncha courses. Relauncha ka bana ba sekolo. O kry-a batho ba lwanela courses ha o motsa non delay unisa. Hayibo. And then Sasko yona itabeli kae ba. Our leader Kosa Zulu ndi part-time apero unisa Comrade SG. Margi President ya Kosa. I know. We will never reach that youth in your dreams. Kamutwa unisa. Never. We will never. Mutwa unisa. Rietsaditse mutu. Rietsaditse mutu favor mo. Ramweta president ya Kosas favor. Batla mutsibela kae bana ba sekolo. President ya rona ya Kosas tshwantse out to grade 12. O botu grade distinction la ile one. Like mshimano ole wa khesha ole. Wa khesha wa Kosas ya no. O grade distinction. Mar o setsa phasitse o ya go pele. Are kgethe bana ba sekolo. Ba lile bana ba sekolo bana ba nekile mo ne ke lo ba addressa. Aya ba mponi ka ba jai fela shebishita. Itse a ke tla fela ba re tate Mbalula o molo wena. Ba nwile jwala mole. Aya ba mponi nixi no ba re time ngana go monna. Ba re jwalo go nna ke time ngana go nna. Ibila ne ke na le mokha. Ba re shita. Kare I know. Dinako di chaile mo di tsamaile. Ba re shita. Akena shebishita no ankukela maemo man. Itse ke bua ke re ka bona I call. Ire ke tone language batho ba dia somewhere ki somewhere. Kati if banali youth mole ya ba leader courses. Isn't part timer ya unisa. Ya ba leader mole. Ukra munna tisitse Kolutuli house ibila support wa ke ba etapele ba ANC. Go support wa motho wa unisa. And leader ba because part time aye kana go ina lubua kana. Ora rona re batla Comrade Mbalula. Ka bitse press conference ya Mbomba imo. Bo Colin when they let courses they were they were at school. They were not outside school. They were at school. Ka uniform. Today, courses leader get part time about. The college here, letting college mo regenesis and in the Bombay law upper regenesis SG. Only the courses. I Mukito Monday, Tuesday, revealed to Mona, Liscalam Pizza Bahan. Ari Kaul and Joe Babler, yes, because Gimulet him too. Kawaki organizing, reorganize a conference, Karim too. But one of Hetwamo Gibana school. Anka Fitamona Kakrea Sibana school, Gala. Akibatili permission. Arkasitu lead Akibat to buy you Nisa. We can. And then we pride ourselves for we are a mass movement, Comrade Panyas. Renaliba to buy you Nisa, Balida Kosas. Renalimu Hegulu. Mukhalabe wa 37 years leader youth league. Ai, youth to ringajwa. Matlaza na urege, likhetile moto shapo. Re ngopi. Ele mukhetile ke lona. Ya le tswatse re le support le lead. Re tso mo di khonentse tsa bo Beth Athol. Ka re ke kae? Athol. Wa bona mo re ka Sky TV mo re linteng tonight. ANCYL zamile mfana mara icon ere ro khothatse monare wa thung re tse dilo tse tswile matso wa utlwa ya mo Gauteng mo e monna mo Gauteng you are leading a very fast growing province urban. You know when they say ANC is becoming, I'm concluding, a rural part, and then it's because we are losing vote in the urban areas. So, you are here, the heartland of the Republic. Wabona aribuaka di e-tolls, repatala di tsela mo Gauteng. Agitivi chante au di patala ludi agar klon krakai. Au lenda. o ka se kopane le pleke ya o tshwana kana le ye anywhere le Free State mo ke tswang teng. Everything start here mo Gauteng. It's a very dynamic province e leng hore le tshwantse le understand. If you don't understand it, you will not win it. And a youth league, yeah, ANC mo Gauteng. Ikasi organize event ikariki youth league ya komthatha enyandeni. Wabona no ikare ko enyandeni komthatha kura o kena mo le o tletse so komthatha o tlore ai le zamile today bafana. Ya ba tshwanela ka tshwanele wena man bona wa pere motlelo. O iwane mo. Youth ikwa. So tshwantse we tshwere ntho emi so. We mamele ntho ke bua. We tshwere mo Gauteng. Wa bona la o kena ko national conference. The provinces tse ding di tlhompe. Ba tsebe hore a ba tswa Gauteng. A ke re ntho tse ding le fashion re bona Gauteng. So even le mo di politiking o jwana. Gauteng, that time Western Cape was leading in politics. When it comes to discussion documents, they are very dynamic. And then Gauteng, Gauteng, Yawina Gauteng, organization breathes here. Gauteng comes with ideas in the ANC. You know this thing, Integrity Commission. The Electoral Commission, when I was heading a renewal, the ideas of enriching the ANC and that led to the creation, Integrity Commission, they came from Gauteng. They were generated here in this province. Because this province is a province that has prided itself of thinkers. Because they are next to many things, academic, universities and everything, urban, popular culture when it comes to the youth, it's here. But you live with it when not 24/7. That is the youth league you lead here. We are going the country when they say the youth, the liberation movement is dying. We organize the event go the rural area. Go the urban area, how more youth are you. The youth that matters. The youth that thinks, that moves. Not only popular culture, across. When the youth want political direction, they must not pass Sukule or Bayaga. They must be here among us. Then there will be pina ibambe. How can we not pina you? It's a praise. Ibambe ni bafana. Unaibina Winnie Mandela pina you. Kekuka babuanga Winnie. Babu, you know, Mam Winnie, Peter Mugabe, and all of that, those were revolutionaries. Those were militants. They were not angry. They did things in the organization because they understood where we are going. And we defended and we wanted to be like them. And that's what has happened. They were not populist. Populism, it's easy, you can never skomota. Tatuma, litsatili so tikeli. Tatuma. You want to be known. Every day, and then you'll be known. Umwale pasi kama tuko skomota number 2. Mo utuma ka uberekela batho. Uberekela batho, uberekela chap. So, comrades, you are very much capable, and your efforts can be seen. And the heartbeat is there. Ubone muruti abinasa faithmu. Bariki chaplain, ya youth league. kana go tsa rona re ne re sena chaplain ya mona munno wa ntsa bina mo bile nna ke nana ro ke le letsina ba re ke moruti ke re di manunwele e liman ka ba ke bona o bina o sa fetse wa bona motho a ka thoma bina sa fetse o tsebe rona le something ka mo tlasa tafole a ke re wa bona o ile mapatong kwa you can never go to a funeral bo sena motho o leng gore no o etsa dilo tsa ae either wa jaifa ha o biniwa and o patiwa batho ba serious mo wa tsibiwa o kaya anywhere call questioning ha o patiwa motho na le motho wa strata se wa tsibiwa o jaifa ha fetsi or ke ena khabelang dipili oh tsotle ke ena wa tsibiwa mo so le wena itse ha o bina ka mokgwa o ka re khole ke mang matlasa ka o a re no ke moruti ke re ke moruti ke re no se ka ba ona le ntwa e kgabola mo wa Comrades, thank you very much and happy 80th anniversary of the